Hello everyone, today I'll be reviewing The Big Sleep. So The Big Sleep came out in 1946 and was directed by Howard Hawks and stars Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, and this film is based on a novel of the same name by Raymond Chandler. So in this film, Humphrey Bogart, he plays a detective called Philip Marlowe. And right at the start of this film, we see Philip Marlowe, he meets this man called Mr. Sternwood. And Mr. Sternwood, he has these two daughters called Carmen and Vivian. And his daughter Carmen is, she has lots of gambling debts which she owes to this man named Mr. Geiger. So Philip Marlowe has to investigate and go and meet Mr. Geiger. However, he also comes across Mr. Sternwood's other daughter, Vivian, who is played by Lauren Bacall. And obviously, as you can probably tell by the Blu-ray cover behind me, Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall in a film together, obviously there is going to be some romance involved. So Philip Marlowe, he sets on his way to find Mr. Geiger, and what ends up happening throughout this film is that one thing leads to another. So he looks for one character, then he can't find them, so he ends up having to look for another character. Throughout this film, although it isn't really spoiling it if I say this, but lots of characters end up dying in this film. Lots of characters end up being killed, and the characters that are killed, they're always being killed in quite mysterious or strange circumstances. And Philip Marlowe just ends up having to find out who is killing who, and I suppose we as the audience as well, we really want to know what is going on and trying to work out what is going on, who is killing who, where this character is, who this character is. And as such, this film actually does have a very complex and very confusing plot. In fact, there's one character that dies in this film who it isn't made clear at all how the character died or who killed him. And in fact, when the producers were actually making this film, they weren't actually sure themselves. So they actually asked Raymond Chandler, who was it that killed this character? And Raymond Chandler said that he doesn't know either. So what I'm trying to say really is that if you're going into this film trying to understand exactly what is going on, trying to follow every single plot line and tie everything together, yeah, you're going to have a very difficult time. So it's best just try to enjoy this film the best you can and not bother to try and work out exactly what is going on. Now, there's actually two different versions of this film, and luckily I've watched both versions because both versions are in the Blu-ray behind me, but there's the familiar 1946 theatrical version, which is the better known version, and there is the 1945 pre-release version. Now, the reason that there are two different versions is that while this film was actually released in 1946, most of it was actually filmed in 1944, and the date was being pushed back because World War II was coming to an end, so Hollywood decided it's best to try and release more World War II films while they can, and then release this film a bit later. But what ended up happening is between 1944 and 1946, Lauren Bacall's agent phoned up Howard Hawks and wanted to chat to him and wanted Lauren Bacall to have more scenes in this film. Because in the original version, Lauren Bacall actually doesn't have as many scenes in it. And in Lauren Bacall's previous film, her performance got really bad reviews and she was struggling a bit. So Lauren Bacall's agent said, please can you give Lauren Bacall more screen time in the film. So this meant that in the 1946 theatrical version, Lauren Bacall had some more scenes added in, and as such it means that there is more of a romance angle between Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart, because actually at the time Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart were married, so the public were very much interested in seeing more of that romance angle between these two actors, who are both very famous at the time. Now, if I'm to compare the pre-release version and the theatrical version, the more familiar theatrical version, the plot is a lot more complicated, whereas in the 1945 pre-release version, we do get some more scenes which explain the plot a little bit more and make it a little bit easier to understand exactly what is going on. However, I have to say I do prefer the 1946 theatrical version. It's just a more interesting film, and we do get some definitely more interesting scenes with Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. And actually the romance angle in the pre-release version does seem a little bit forced compared to the more familiar 1946 theatrical version. So I would definitely say check out the 1946 theatrical version. It's definitely going to be the version which is the proper version and easier to see. So this was actually the first time that I'd seen this film, and I was very familiar with Humphrey Bogart as an actor. He plays quite a similar character to when he plays Sam Spade in the Maltese Falcon, although in this one he has quite a few funny, witty lines, and he always comes across as quite likeable in this film. There's some very funny sort of comebacks to like what a lot of the other characters are about to say, and he's just very funny. There were a few bits that did make me chuckle a bit. And this is actually really one of the first proper films that I have seen Lauren Bacall in. I think I'd only seen one previous film with Lauren Bacall, when that was Misery, which came out in 1990, and she only had a rather small supporting part in this film. And it's interesting because Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, they actually did quite a few films together, as well as this they did To Have and Have Not, Dark Passage and Key Largo. So during the 1940s, Bogart and Bacall were both very big in Hollywood, and obviously they were doing quite a few big films together. So overall, I did enjoy this film very much. I don't think it's perfect though. I think because it was a little bit difficult to follow, it's difficult to work out who killed who, and the fact that some of the characters in this film, we get quite a lot of names floating about, names like Sean Regan and people like this, just these names, and quite a few of these characters we never actually meet. We don't actually see who they are, and that is sort of the whole idea of the film, is that, that there are lots of characters we don't meet, and there's even some characters that we don't meet until after they're dead, so we just see their body. So yeah, there are lots of characters, there's lots of people killing somebody else, and we have to try and piece it all together, as I was saying, who kills who, what is going on, and as such it can be a little bit mind-boggling, a little bit confusing. But I've read lots of other reviews, and pretty much everybody else has said exactly the same thing, that it is difficult to follow. But like I said, you just have to enjoy the film as much as you can and not worry too much about not understanding it. Yeah, but if you can understand it, obviously that's brilliant. But yeah, I'm not sure how you could, to be honest, because I think a lot of it is meant to be left up in the air and sort of left for the audience to, be a little confused about what they've just watched. So overall, I have to say The Big Sleep is a very good film, very entertaining. I love the chemistry between Bogart and Bacall. It's really, really nice to see them together on screen. And Bogart is always good as the leading man, especially in these detective type roles. Like I said, a bit difficult to follow. And I have to say, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of the whole look of this film. It's a bit grainy looking. I suppose I know it's the 1940s, but there are other films from this time which do look slightly better. Not sure exactly why that is, but hey ho, that's just my opinion. So overall, I'm going to give The Big Sleep a rating of 8 out of 10. I definitely recommend it if you enjoy films from this era, especially if you like Humphrey Bogart films. However, if you don't like these kind of films, then yeah, but this one probably isn't going to win you over. And I have to say, if you want a film which is quite easy to watch, then I probably can't recommend this because of its confusing plot, to be honest. Nevertheless, there we go. So that is my review of The Big Sleep. So what do you guys think? I'd love to know your opinion. Have you seen The Big Sleep? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Please let me know what your thoughts are down in that comment section. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.